Hey guys, it's Laura and I'm finally making a video about the partial program I did for my mental health. I've been really wanting to make this video because I think it's such a crucial topic when it comes to mental health, especially my specific mental health story. So I'm excited to be finally making it and I have a lot to say, so let's get started.
Right.
So the backstory to it, I've talked about my depression on my channel before, so this is not like news or anything unless this is the first video of mine that you're watching, which hello, welcome, thanks. But I have depression, I have anxiety, and I've had anxiety for as long as I can remember. And then my depression started my freshman year of college. I started to show symptoms of it, which that whole story itself I feel like is another video, but that was something that was starting around then and it just continued to increase and become more present in my life. I was in a relationship at the time. The relationship ended last November. I think, trying to get over a relationship while also dealing with depression just like was two storms colliding and created a not so good space in my head. It's not funny, but it's funny because I just have to laugh at it at this point. But it got pretty rough, and then this whole corona thing happened, and then I was just stuck in my thoughts with nothing to do except for lie in bed and think and think and think and think, and I think a lot of people felt that. And so I just got so stuck in my head, and eventually it just I was so fed up with it and so fed up with doing the same thing every day, every week to work on my mental health and having it not actually work to make anything better. I'm gonna put a trigger warning here. Some talk about suicidal thoughts. So I was having these thoughts. I never had any explicit thoughts or anything. I never considered them to be suicidal thoughts, and even now it's I never thought about suicide or considered it or anything, but I started to understand why people do. It just sucks to have the same thoughts over and over again and not be able to do anything about them. And I was going to therapy and I was taking medication and I was trying to sort of stay active. It was getting hard because there was only so much I could do, especially sitting inside all day, and it was just getting really, really hard. So I'm editing this video now and I'm lying in bed. Talking about this stuff in particular, I just wanted to add in, I filmed this video a long time ago, so I've had a lot of time to think and learn more and stuff and process my thoughts more, and so there's a lot of feeling of just helplessness and wanting to give up. And what I meant by all this was that I was never explicitly planning anything. Luckily, I felt relatively safe, but just very hopeless, helpless, and I just wanted it to stop so badly. And so there's a lot of frustration there because I wanted to stop so badly, but I didn't want to actually do anything about it. So that was really difficult, and that's just kind of what I meant by that. I felt like I was doing the same thing over and over again to try and get better, and it wasn't helping. And it was really, really frustrating. And so, I don't know why I'm laughing. I don't know how to handle, talking about this, but I one day was just so fed up, especially when I get into the lower of the lows of my depression. It's I don't know if I can explain it well enough to help you understand it if you haven't felt this way, but you literally cannot make the thoughts stop, and they go over and over and over and over again in your head, and there's nothing you can do about it. And that's what gets so frustrating, and I think that's what gets people up to that level of severity when it comes to mental health, is just not being able to stop those thoughts, and there's literally nothing you can do, and you can try as hard as you want, but there's just, in that moment, there's nothing you can do to make it stop. And so that was really one night just was happening like crazy, and I couldn't do anything to stop it, and I talked to my mom about it, or I don't know, I don't even remember it that well, but I just was not doing well. And so that's kind of what led me to talking to my therapist and saying, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep just going to therapy and just taking the medication because it doesn't feel like it's enough and nothing's getting better even a little bit. And this was in June, and I was just so sick of it. And so she was like, okay, I'm gonna, there's options. And I'd known that there was programs out there, but I didn't know exactly what they were aside from the residential programs, which seemed extreme. And as much as I wasn't doing well, the summer is the best time of year for me mentally. And so I was it would really suck to have to go into this residential program and give up that one time of year that is the best part of the year for me. She talked to me about a partial program and what that looked like, and then the way that we went about it was we went to our local crisis center and we saw these clinicians, I guess, who were able to ask me a bunch of questions and then also say that I should go to a partial program, but they kind of like got the process going a little bit faster. And so they told us about all the different places that I could go to. It was a little bit different because of the virus, so I had options, but there weren't like really any options to go in person. But that actually ended up working out in my favor, I think, because I went to one that was kind of far from my house, but I did it online, so I didn't actually have to go there, which was nice. So now that we've kind of talked about how I got there, since I didn't know what a partial program was, I want to tell you guys and explain to you what it is. It's a PHP, which is a partial hospitalization program. So technically you're hospitalized when you're there, but you don't like stay there, you stay at home. And then if there wasn't a pandemic going on, you would be going in person every day, and then you just would still be like sleeping at home and stuff. I technically did that, it's just that instead of going there, obviously I was on Zoom. And after doing my research on it and actually being there and stuff, it's basically just an intermediate level of care, so it's more than therapy, but it's less than a residential program. So that's what I went to. They do like an intake process, so my first day they did an intake where they asked me a bunch of questions, like a ton of questions. And that's to make sure that that if I hadn't already been diagnosed with anything, they could diagnose me, or that if I had been diagnosed but maybe the diagnosis was wrong, they could diagnose me with something else or add something. Like a lot of people go there and find out that they have other mental health disorders. And so at first it was like super weird, especially because it's on Zoom and you don't know the people and it's weird to get used to, but our daily schedule, we were there from 12 to 5, like I said, on Zoom. So you'd log in at 12, and then from 12 to 1 there were icebreakers, so you just like introduce yourself because people were coming and going all the time. It wasn't like everyone started on the same day and ended on the same day. Everyone started on their own individual day and ended on their own individual day. So every few days there was like new people and people were leaving and all that stuff. So just to keep in the loop of who's there, we did introductions every day, and then we would do icebreakers. So we would just play like camp games basically. So the program that I went to was for 13 to 20 year olds, and we were all in the same group for most of it, and sometimes we would split up into smaller groups, but that wasn't really based on age, I don't think. I don't know how they split it up, but it was 13 to 20 year olds, and it was 100% voluntary, so they weren't gonna take anyone unless they wanted to be there. Parents were involved if the kid was under 18, and then if they were 18 and older, I had to give consent for my parents to be involved. And then during the intake, they do a safety and treatment plan, which is basically, your safety plan is obviously because mental health can cause a lot of harm for some people. Your safety plan is how to prevent that while you're there, and then the treatment plan is what you're doing to get the treatment that you need and like how it's gonna help, or like what you're doing to get better. So the DBT group was really helpful for me because I started at my intake when I like did my safety and treatment plan. I had to set goals for myself, and one of my goals was to like build up skills to help me cope with my mental health. And so the DBT group was like the planting, I don't know how to say, it was the perfect opportunity for that because I gained so many skills to help me like when I'm feeling anxious especially. And so that's been super, super helpful. And it's also helpful, like they teach you about your thoughts and what type of thoughts you're having, because there's like, it's all the psychology behind it. There's different types of thoughts that people have, and kind of help you reason with them to say like, this thought that I'm having is not realistic. I don't have any evidence to prove it or to disprove it. I can't predict the future. Like I'm thinking about the future, but I really don't know what's gonna happen and all that kind of stuff. So that was so helpful. It probably wasn't my favorite. Well, no, I guess it was my second favorite group. It was one of the most helpful groups there. And then after that, we did group therapy, which is like the stuff that you see on movies and TV shows. And we were on Zoom, so we didn't, but like it's where we would have sat in a circle and all talked about our feelings. And that is what we did. And so this is the only group that they would ever split us up, just to have smaller groups so that more people could get a chance to talk. And they would come in and like the clinicians would say, does anyone want to use group today? And if you wanted to use group, you could. And if you didn't, if no one wanted to, we'd like, I don't know, find something else to do. But usually people did want to, and usually like even if only one person wanted to, by the end of it, some other people would have brought up stuff too. One of my favorite things about the way it was run is that the clinicians usually said the group is most effective when the clinicians don't talk much at all, and we're talking to each other. And I felt like that was really true because it was just so, like, you were surrounded by people your age going through, everyone there, and I can't make the assumptions and I don't know for sure, but I think it would be safe to say that everyone there was struggling with depression and anxiety, and then people had additional things. And so it was such a great, like, as sad and down as it was because you were sitting there talking about how sad you feel all the time, it was such an incredible thing to sit there and have people saying stuff, like putting into words something that you could have never explained, like a feeling that you have, or you saying stuff and people saying, I know how you feel. And it was so validated there because I like sometimes talking about your feelings is so hard and people will say, I know how you feel. And you'll be like, but do you really? Like, I don't know if you do. Do you actually struggle with this? Are you just saying that? But in this group, like everyone was there for a reason. Everyone was there because they were depressed. And so like when they said that they knew how I was feeling, they knew how I was feeling. And I didn't have to think into it too much because I definitely think too much. And so I could just trust that they did know how I was feeling. And it was just, I've never felt like I felt alone when I was like feeling all this until I got there and I realized that I probably, like, that was one of those, like, I probably was feeling alone and didn't even realize it until I got there and I saw all these people saying, yeah, I know what you're saying. I've been there. I felt that yesterday. I'm feeling that right now. Like, I don't know. And then, like I said, other people talking and being able to, you hear them say something that you would have never been able to put into words as well as they did to help explain how you're feeling. And it was just such an incredible, as much as I sat in there and like talked about stuff that I didn't want to talk about and cried and like all that stuff, like it was an incredible group. And that was my favorite part of the whole thing, and I think the most effective thing. And people gave such great advice. Like, it was incredible. Just the stuff that you gain from going through this kind of stuff it was so incredible and so helpful. And so that was definitely my favorite part. And then after that, we had wellness group, which, if I'm being honest with you, never sure I fully understood the purpose of it, but I know that on Tuesdays and Thursdays we did yoga and I really liked that, so that was fun. And then that schedule was like pretty set in stone, 12 to 5, that's what we were doing. But then at least four of the 5 days you would meet with your clinicians, so you had a one-on-one clinician. This isn't something that they did usually when there's not a pandemic going on. They wouldn't do this, but just because it's a little bit less like personal because you're not actually there, they did the one-on-one check-ins, and it was just 15 minutes that you'd meet with a clinician to like talk about how you're feeling and how it's going and stuff. I had an incredible clinician. I loved her. I wish I could take her from there and have her be my therapist, but she doesn't do that. She was just so great. And so we would meet 4 out of the 5 days and just catch up on emotions and like anything that she had heard me talking about, because they sit in on everything. So if she heard me talking about something in group and she was like, I want to follow up on that, or I would want to follow up on something, or we'd like talk about working on some things. So that was great. That was basically like a one-on-one therapist throughout the whole thing. And then we also, on the 5th day that we didn't meet with the clinician, we would meet with their psychiatric nurse practitioner who does all like the med checks and stuff to make sure that the medication you're taking is helpful, and if not, what you can take instead. And so I met with her, but ultimately I think the medication I'm on right now is pretty good, and I was on that at the time. And so I had just started it and missed a couple of doses, so she was like, okay, just stay on it and see how you feel, and if there's a problem, let me know. But we still did meet once a week just to check in. And so I did that for 3 weeks, and then after 3 weeks, my clinician said to me, well, this is like part of the program, is you stay in until the clinician thinks that you're ready to kind of step down. After a certain amount of time, the clinician decided that you were ready to step down to IOP, which is the Intensive Outpatient Program. I never knew what that stood for when I was there, and I looked it up, so I'm glad I know now. Well educated. But that's just like a way to wean you off of treatment. I don't like the word wean, but like lessen the treatment to prepare you for discharge when you're not going to be there every day. And so then you were only there, instead of being there from 12 to 5, you were there from 12 to 3:30 or 2:30 to 5. So there was that 2:30 to 3:30. That was when group therapy was. So everyone was there for group therapy. And then some people would be there earlier and some people would stay later. And so I did 3 days that I got there earlier and 2 days that I got there later. So I could do yoga on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then DVT Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And so that was really helpful to be able to get to do both. There wasn't anything different about it except for the timing, but we just did the same groups and everything, and I was there for 2 weeks. So in total, I was at the program for 5 weeks. I was there for the majority of the summer, but like I said, I was able to be at home. So like in the morning and at nights, I was still able to have my summer, and on the weekends. It was so helpful. Before, I was going through a lot of ups and downs where I would like feel really happy and then feel really sad and then feel really happy, and it would be like, most commonly it was like 2 weeks of being really happy and 2 weeks of being really sad and 2 weeks of being really happy. And so that was really frustrating, and I wanted that to stop, obviously. I had that big crash right before, when that like caused me to look into doing something more than just therapy. And then from there, that like is when things started to kind of go from that low to the next high. I felt good while I was at the program and just continued to feel good. And I definitely, and still now, have had and have days that I don't feel good. So it's not like fixed and it's not better, and my thoughts like are still there and they're still persistent, but they're a lot better and a lot more manageable now than they were. It's been like 3 weeks since I've been there. So 2 months ago, I'm in a much different place than I was 2 months ago, which is good. Like I said, not cured. Depression is something that you can't really cure. Like, it's always going to be a concern. My point is, I'm doing better. Not great, but that's expected. The fact that it helped at all is good, and it helped a lot, and it gave me, like I said, a lot of skills that I needed, and I'm so glad that I did it. I'm so glad. And when I started and I was talking to my therapist and the people at the crisis center, and I talked to my doctor about it too, all 3 places, they were like, a lot of people who go love it, and like it really helps them. And so I was like so excited to do it, and I loved it, and it really helped me, and it taught me a little bit. Like, I did a really good job advocating for myself, I think, while I was there, which I was really proud of myself for. I learned to be comfortable with saying that I'm proud of myself. It just taught me so much, and so I'm so glad I did it. And if you are watching this video because you're curious about the partial programs, or because you are planning to go into one, know that you're doing the right thing. Like, this is gonna help you. It might not be the end-all be-all cure for you, because it wasn't for me, but it definitely made a huge difference. And there were people there too. It wasn't their first time there, it was their second time. I met a girl, it was her 4th time there, and like, just because it was her 4th time there doesn't mean that she didn't think it was working. Like, she wouldn't come back 4 times if she didn't think it was worth it. So it just was really good. And so if you're considering it, I would say absolutely go for it. If you are doing it, just make sure you're 100% there. You get out what you put in. That's like the biggest thing, is you need to participate and you'll see results. So if you have any questions about the partial program, please let me know, because I love to answer questions and I love to talk about my experiences. So I'd be happy to answer them if you have any, and I feel like I don't even know if I covered everything, so if there's something you want to know, let me know. I guess that's all I have. So thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. And I make videos about my mental health a lot, so, and some other stuff too. So if you like that kind of content, I don't know, feel free to subscribe. If you like this video, give it a like, and I'll see you later.